How's it going, you guys? So in this video I'm going to be discussing why I personally do not recommend or advocate long-term juice fasting or colon cleansing or things like that for the purpose of detoxifying your body, purging toxins, and removing parasites and things like that. So first of all, there is absolutely a valid application of certain methodologies for the purpose of, neutralizing parasites and removing them from the body, because parasites are actually a very real thing. Same thing with things like bacteria, viral infections, and things like that. And essentially, whenever you're sick, for example, when you have a respiratory infection and your body produces a lot of mucus, it is a fact that your body is technically detoxifying itself of whatever pathogen is in the system. And it is also a fact that your liver does a good, does a good job of producing, molecules and things for the purpose of detoxification. It's not a filter. The liver's not a filter, but it does produce certain things like, antioxidants and things for the purpose of neutralizing toxins and removing them through multi-phase detoxification processes. So it's true that your body has natural mechanisms that its entire purpose is detoxification. Another really obvious example is if you consume something toxic, whether it's some type of poison, whether it's too much alcohol, or an expired piece of meat or something. Obviously when you eat that, your body's going to purge itself of whatever it is. It's gonna vomit that poison or toxin or expired meat. It's gonna vomit it up. Okay. So at a baseline, your body does have mechanisms at play for detoxification. However, it's also true that a lot of people, these days especially, they have problems with their livers, they have problems with their intestines, where they have, maybe a constipation, or, have trouble going to the bathroom, right? They have trouble moving their bowels, or maybe they have, trouble with digestion. Maybe they have constant congestion of their sinuses, right? So there's certain remedies that you can use that are typically claimed as, supplements for detoxification. Things like dandelion root, milk thistle, even things like turmeric, and really strong coffee. These things, many people believe, have a detoxifying effect on the liver, and they're sold and marketed towards consumers as, detoxification protocols or whatever. You spend $30 on a 7-day cleanse or 7-day detox, and most of what you're buying is psyllium husk, fiber, and laxative herbs and stuff like that. And I think on one side of things, those, they can definitely help if you're backed up, if you're super constipated, or, if you feel like, there's that term sluggish liver. If you feel like you have a sluggish liver, you'll probably feel really good, a lot better after you do something like that. But at the same time, I think that it's wrong to believe that you're purging yourself of toxins. There's people that actually believe that they have cellular waste, and when they do these detoxes, they're removing toxins at a cellular level, all the pesticides and herbicides that get built up in your cells, and this crazy explanation for how things work that there's no evidence for at all, that I'm aware of. And even how would you even go about getting evidence of something like that? Cellular waste is very similar. This type of thinking is very similar to when people say, if you eat if you eat animals, you're going to transfer the emotions and the pain and the suffering from that animal into your body's cells. Like, how do you test that? How do you test the transference of emotions from your food to your body? Like, there's no studies that prove this. I looked for this one in particular. And how would you go about testing it to put it in a study in the first place? And so if you can't prove this, then how come people actually buy into it fully? Like they actually like are convinced. Not just an idea. This isn't just an idea. This is something people actually believe, that you can store toxins and hormones and stress, or cortisol from the foods that you eat, at a cellular level. Like, there's no way you can prove that. So a lot of people that buy into cleansing and long-term fasting, these are some of the things that they believe. So the first part of all of this that I had talked about already is more realistic. Like, if you're backed up, if you have a lot of gunk in the trunk and your body's having trouble, like if you feel like your liver's having trouble doing its job, herbs like milk thistle, there's a lot of evidence that shows it can support the liver through a variety of functions, including increasing glutathione production, helping to support fatty liver disease, lowering liver enzymes if they're elevated. So there's a lot of evidence that it can support the liver in doing its own job. But as far as detoxifying, like, what exactly does that mean? And then when people start to explain what they mean by detoxification, it starts to sound like that crazy, the body is alkaline, it's electrical, Dr. CB, alkaline diet crap that has like no alignment with actual physiology at all. Like, it just is false. It's proven false. And so there's that. Now we also have things like parasite cleansing. So black walnut hull, clove, and wormwood. So those are typically the herbs that you use in conjunction. If you feel like you have worms or some type of parasitical infection, that's a standard. And it's very effective for a wide variety of parasites, especially intestinal parasites. So that's tried and proven, and it's nothing super complicated where you need to follow some doctors, some raw vegan doctor's grape cleanse or something. Like, you don't need to do that, The problem, though, is that people, they self-diagnose themselves with parasites, self-diagnose themselves with candida, and they self-diagnose themselves as toxic, and then they view their body as like a project that they need to work on forever. And so doing these cleanses, and these doctors that talk about, like, cleansing your body of toxins, like the Life Regenerator, Dan McDonald or whatever, like, it aligns with this idea that you got to constantly, like, scrape your cells clean of toxins through any means necessary. And you're going to just be in a constant state of anxiety, orthorexia, and just you're going farther and farther away from what actually is healthy. It is absolutely in alignment with orthorexia. At least this extreme cleansing that I'm talking about. Like, people who think that they have to drink their pee. Urine therapy, which I'm sure maybe there might be some type of benefit to something like that. Not to say, but I haven't looked into it enough to really have an opinion on it. Sure, it sounds crazy, but so does the carnivore diet. So there's a lot of things sound crazy, but it's what are you actually achieving, though? That's the thing that you got to think about. What is your intention, and then how are these protocols that you're following aligning with that intention? So a lot of people that do these cleanses, they don't actually have a real intention. Their intention is to reach this nirvana of health that does not exist. like, oh yeah, I'm almost healthy. I'll be there eventually. You know, I'm working on my health every day. And in reality, you're just starving yourself for 30 days. And then, you know, going crazy, drinking your own pee. And then when you see mucus coming out of your eyelids, you don't consider the possibility that it might be of a deficiency of some kind, but you think it's toxins leaving the body. Every negative symptom that comes out of these cleanses, they see as like a Herxheimer reaction, like a detox reaction or something like that, or it's a positive thing that their hair is falling out. They're detoxifying themselves. They didn't need their hair anyway. Hair is a sign of toxicity. That's what they say. Or I lost my period. The period is a sign of toxicity. I'm so clean now that I don't need my period. Or like, you know, when men stop ejaculating on some of these protocols, and they say fertility is a sign of toxicity. Like, that is absolutely nonsense. And anybody who hears me talking right now, and they think that I'm full of crap, there's no saving them, unfortunately. They need to see a psychiatrist, a good psychiatrist, and I hope to God that the good psychiatrist is actually good and can actually change their lives. Because if you think being fertile is a sign of toxicity, like a lot of these people who follow these cleanses and things and these cleansing diets, then you really are detached from reality. So again, there are some detoxification so-called protocols that are good for certain things. There's no real reason to believe that anybody has cellular waste or anything like that they need to be on a constant cleanse or do a cleanse, like a month-long cleanse every couple of months or something. Like, a lot of these things are unfounded. You know, even things like building up heavy metals, on some level that is accurate. Things like mercury and arsenic and iron, I mean, metals do accumulate, but I think a lot of people, they have very basic health problems that can be solved through basic protocols, and they don't really need to believe that they have heavy metal toxicity. And that's the other part of this, is that health is very simple, and when you start to go on these crazy detoxes and these cleanses and things, it a lot of times is a reflection of your assumption that health needs to be complicated. Kind of like pharmaceutical medicine. You know, people think extreme symptoms need extreme intervention, and a lot of times extreme symptoms can just be a cascade that manifests itself from a vitamin deficiency or something else, a food intolerance. And so, you know, based on all the evidence that we can gather, any marker of our health, whether that's, you know, reversing diabetes, causing regression of arterial plaque and heart disease, improving symptoms of autoimmune illness and digestive disease, improving your sleep, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. Most things have a very simple solution, and usually nutrition and simple lifestyle changes. And I mean that very simply. Like, I mean that 100%. These things can make the most difference and bring you back to a state of equilibrium and balance, which is where everyone needs to get to. And there's some very strict protocols, like the carnivore diet, that work very well, and there are scientific reasons as to why they might work. And those might sound extreme, but that can be the answer for a lot of people. But long-term juice fasting, probably going to cause some pretty bad insulin regulatory issues. Probably not a good idea. You know, and regular fasting, there's a variety of reasons why someone would want to fast, but for the purpose of detoxification and cleansing, yeah, definitely don't do that, because you don't actually know what you're trying to do. Like, cleansing can mean many things, and you probably don't need a cleanse, and you probably don't even know what's happening as it's going along. You're just going to say it's cleansing. But like I was saying, I mean, basic nutrition can heal most issues. If you have a parasite, use a time-tested, parasite protocol. The basic tincture I had mentioned earlier: wormwood, clove, black walnut hull. And, look at what works for most people and what people actually have success with, and then do that. So one last part to all of this is that a lot of these cleansing protocols and things, even something as simple as adding psyllium husk to your diet, or a psyllium husk cleanse or something like that, can actually cause negative side effects. And this is the big thing here, is that, so like I mentioned before, juice cleansing can cause insulin regulatory issues and fatigue. And then when you reintroduce foods, it can be very hard to do so. Psyllium husk and all of these fibrous cleanses can actually make things like Crohn's disease and other digestive problems worse. And that's a big thing, because I tried these before, like in the first year of my health journey. I tried all this crap, and that's why I know it doesn't really, it's actually how I identified my problem. So increasing, psyllium husk, chia seeds, and these types of things for the purpose of cleansing your bowels might not be a very good idea. Even things like enemas, like I can see, you feel like you're really backed up or something, or you have obstruction in the bowels. I mean, maybe a enema, coffee enema, water enema, every couple months or something. Maybe that would be beneficial for some people. But the thing is, if you do it every single day, there are actually people out there who do this every day, sometimes multiple times a day. That's a sign that whatever nutrition protocol you're doing is not working. You should not need to rely on a laxative or even on magnesium supplements, for bowel movements, or for relying on enemas or cleanses or anything like that. You should be able to eat whole foods, and you should be able to regulate your sleep, regulate your mood, your energy, and have decent bowel movements. But the problem is knowing sleep hygiene, knowing what foods trigger constipation and things like that. And then addressing the root cause. And this is generally pretty simple. Rather than resorting to sticking coffee up your ass every single day. And your body can actually start to rely on that laxative or on that magnesium supplement. Or it can start to rely on that enema. And then what happens? Well, then it's going to be even harder to go to the restroom naturally, because your body's so used to enemas. Now, mind you, I know a couple people who had switched from daily enemas to once a week enemas, and we changed up their nutrition, and then they seem to be doing much better, and they can poop regularly now. But a lot of people, it's a very slippery slope. So, a lot of these cleanses, number one, they're not necessary. At the very basic level, they can have very positive effects in the short term for some conditions. Most people, though, don't know what they're doing. They're orthorexic and trying to reach the nirvana of health that doesn't exist. They're like a rat on a spinning wheel, not getting anywhere. And they can also start to cause negative problems, negative side effects, and then they blame the negative side effects as a positive, it's a detox reaction, it's good, it's the toxins being cleansed from my body. In the carnivore community, they see the same thing. They claim it's oxalate dumping. And so you got to be careful about that, because if your goal is to be healthy, cleansing and then your eyeballs fall out and then claiming it's a positive reaction to dumping toxins is only going to cause you to go blind. And then what happens next? Your hair falls out, your genitals fall off. So probably not the most positive cycle to get yourself in. So hopefully that made sense. Leave your question and comments down below, and I'll talk to y'all next time.